Good evening and welcome to the Thursday weather update. Right, just going to quickly, before I start going into forecasts, just going to look at this atrocious radar. Now, this is the Brisbane area radar, and according to modelling last night, we should see lots of storms. Unfortunately, the trigger didn't happen. We had enough heat, there was enough other ingredients about, but unfortunately it didn't trigger and it didn't break the cap. There was a moderate cap if anyone watched the video I posted last night. I did mention there's a moderate cap. And yeah, there was no trigger strong enough to break that cap. So unfortunately, it's looking very, very much like it's a bust in southeast Queensland, which is often the case even if we've got everything else looking good for us. This is just a whole case of, which I've said in the post before, on Facebook, if you have no trigger, you can have all the cape, all the good ingredients, you can have it coming out your ear holes, but if there's no trigger, nothing's going to happen. Now, we did see a tiny little thing right here. It formed just south of Kingaroy, over here, removed. It tried, failed, couldn't break the cap. So, at this stage, it's looking like to be a bust day, so yeah, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. That yeah, you can have it all, but without that trigger, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so now we're going to get into the forecast part of it, and we're going to start with the thunderstorm potential. Now, obviously, you can see over southeast Queensland, the modelling still thinks that there's going to be some storm activity up there, but that's just the way it is. Modelling isn't 100%. It's not, it's not the exact science. Things can go wrong, and that was the case for today. Anyhow, going into the potential. So we have a developing low over in WA at the moment. It's weak at the moment, but it's likely to cause some thunderstorm activity on its northeast side. It's potentially going to move south. Let's just push it along a little bit to tomorrow. And as it reaches down south, it's going to access a little bit more moisture. And thunderstorm activity has a potential to get quite widespread around there. So we could see a repeat of some of the severe storms we saw across this region the other day. So as we'll just keep going into the next day, and as you can see, as the low moves southeast, it brings up thunderstorm activity across South Australia in pretty much the same area as the other day, as I mentioned just then. Now, some of this activity could end up being severe. Probably damaging winds will be the most likely hazard. Without looking at any soundings or anything, just being what it looks like synoptically. So with the low pressure, it will bring some gusty winds with it. So let's just bring it over, and unfortunately, once again, that storm activity is going to peter out a bit as it reaches Victoria. So Victoria won't see much in the way of storm activity at this point. However, we're going to have a look at southeast Queensland again and inland Queensland. And we now, on Sunday, have a better potential for thunderstorm activity than we did today, at least this far out. Still a few days, so it could change. But I have been watching this for the last few days, and it's holding pretty well. So that could bring some severe thunderstorms around the southeast Queensland area, especially north of Brisbane, and potentially around the Gold Coast area. And these storms should move from the southwest north And as we get closer to the actual day, I will look more into the forecast soundings and work out what the go is then. But right now we have some potential, so that's exciting stuff. And we have some potential around the inland areas of Northern Territory and up in the Weipa area where storms start to increase at this time of year. So that's looking good so far. Let's just have a look at Monday, where there is a potential for more activity on Monday as well. This time it's a bit more further north than the day before, so around Rockhampton, up along the ranges west of Mackay, west of Townsville, up in the ranges there, and inland Queensland, and across the Northern Territory and up in the northeast of Kimberley. So it looks good for some activity again. So it looks like the storm season is going to kick off a bit. I don't think much rainfall will come with these, as there's just not much access to it right now, the moisture. So these are probably mostly be gusty winds, possibly large hail and stuff like that. Okay, so I just flipped. Oh, I was doing that. Just flipped over to the sweat index map by WeatherWatch. So this is Sunday from about midday. So as I explained in my little video yesterday, if you've seen that, if not, I'll explain it again. Sweat is not sweating your butthole off. It is, it's an acronym for severe weather threat index. So yeah, when we talk about sweat, when it comes to severe weather, we're not talking about sweating your bum off. We're talking about the severe weather. So severe weather threat index. So what this does is it's a measure for severe storms mostly. It can be used for other severe weather as well, but in this case we're using it for severe storms. So as you can see around here, the sweat index is fairly high. So what this means is the potential for severe thunderstorms is going to be current on Sunday at this stage. So obviously we will just keep an eye on how this runs over the course of the next few days. Even over into New South Wales, we've got some purple over here, which is a higher sweat index, and the index continues pretty high for southeast Queensland during Sunday. Now we will zoom out a little bit, actually a lot, to the whole state, and we'll look at Monday. Now the severe weather index is not quite as high on Monday, but as you can see, the potential for severe weather is there. So there could be a few severe thunderstorms about on Monday. Once again, I'll look into this later on in the probably on Saturday or Sunday, most likely Saturday, and just to see how it's tracking. But at this point, there's some potential for some severe weather across inland northwest Queensland and across along central Queensland, central coastal Queensland, up in the Burdekin and Sunshine Coast. Seems to have the most threat right about now. Now we'll just have a look at the whole country. So you can see on this map that there is quite a bit of severe weather potential on Sunday, even into New South Wales, and this is that low pressure system will be causing this down there. So if we look a bit back, you see the sweat index is insane, quite high for South Australia on Saturday. So that just shows me that this low pressure system is going to, or should, cause some severe storms and severe conditions along that area there. As you can see, as we go into the evening on Saturday, it pushes east, but it starts to weaken as it moves forward. And we still have a bit of potential from that low across New South Wales into Sunday afternoon. And it mostly moves off the coast by Sunday evening. And into Monday, we just have it up in Queensland. Righto, so now we're moving into temperature outlooks. This is EC modeling. So we'll just have a quick look through the other models, and for the most part, they're pretty much the same as I just had a quick look at them. So we'll just stick with one model for now so no one gets confused with what's going on and doesn't get overwhelmed with all the information. So here we have the EC temperature models for tomorrow morning. So just looking at the capitals, we've got Melbourne 11, Adelaide 9, Hobart 8, Sydney 18, Brisbane 22, Perth 14, and Darwin 28 by the early morning. Now during the afternoon, we're going to get some heat across the interior, as has been the case recently, and temperatures aren't going to be too mild across most of the areas, especially in the south. It'll be quite a cool day after the heat that they've had recently. The low pressure system here will drag some heat down south ahead of it, so it's just going to drag on down some of that inland warmth just ahead of it, but behind it is going to leave some cool temperatures. So we just roll this forward. And once my map catches up, here we go. This is the temperature forecast for Saturday morning. And then we have Sunday during the day. So yeah, this is Saturday during the day. Then we have Sunday morning about 5 a.m. And it'll be quite cool once again in the south and warm up in the north. And then here we have the Sunday afternoon. So a lot of those storms that I was talking about over the southeast Queensland should have plenty of heat to set them off. So that should trigger them in the afternoon as we move forward. And this shows where likely storms have already formed and cooled it down. Okay, now we're going to move on to the 7-day rainfall forecast. So just an update from the other day. That low pressure system, as I stated earlier, the thunderstorms that it brings would likely not be much rainfall in them, but it will bring a little bit of rain across South Australia and down into Victoria. Now, the storms over southeast Queensland should bring a bit of rainfall. Now, this keeps downgrading all the time, and not all the models are showing such high falls. You got 118 up near Bundaberg, but it's probably a bit excessive. And let's just look at access, and access is even lower than the others. So most of the models are downgrading with this rainfall. So any storms that do form, like the theme that it has been recently, is there will be mostly gusty winds, possibly some hail, but rainfall may see some patchy heavy falls like last weekend, but mostly it's just going to be lighter on the lighter side, and more wind than anything else at this stage. And most of the rainfall that's expected is going to stay off the coast here. So that's been happening the last few days, as the rainfall's just been pushing offshore and downgrading. So that's about all we have for today's update. I will probably put out another one on Saturday, just to update on the weather on Sunday and for the next few days after that. So thank you for watching and have a good day.